that's a person. They have a life. When you're building a personal brand around a person, you're spotlighting different aspects of their life.
My name's Peter Sumpton, and this is the Marketing Study Lab podcast. A podcast for those that are thinking, have thought and are doing, or already have a marketing qualification. But there's a little bit of something for everyone, as we cover a whole host of marketing topics. I chat to some amazing guests, each one a superstar in their own niche. And if you have a burning marketing question already, or after this episode, get in touch. We'll chat it through. peter@marketingstudylab.co.uk, or find me on LinkedIn. The link is in the show notes. If you'd like to leave a review on iTunes, this will really help others find this podcast and spread the marketing word. Now let's get on with today's episode. Welcome to episode 50. Yes, 50. Marketing Study Lab is 50 today. Can't quite believe it. We've nearly done a full year together. Thank you so much for joining me now, in the past, and hopefully in the future. Now, this episode is mega special for me because I get to speak to, well, rather nervously, speak to Goldie Chan. So more about Goldie later. But in this episode, we'll also find the difference between AR and VR, which is kind of a sideshow really, compared to the chat I'm just about to introduce. As this week, we get to speak to Goldie Chan. Now, Goldie has gone from a biological science degree to LinkedIn's top voice for 2018 and a contributor to Forbes. She's the second contributor to Forbes we've had on this podcast, and it's quite humbling that people of that stature want to come on. What Goldie does is provide social media with purpose. She's currently the strategic lead for Warm Robot, her social media agency, which helps Fortune 500 C-level executives. But what caught my eye was the top performing LinkedIn videos of her own series, Daily Goldie. In this, she offers advice and guidance, as well as sparking debate every single day, and she's done this consecutively for over 500 days, and is still going strong. So Marketing Study Lab is a bit of a minnow compared to that. So now's the time to meet the Oprah of LinkedIn. And I want to ask Goldie this first important question. Goldie, what is your favourite science fact?
You know what? I'll start with what I did in my undergrad. So I actually did research on Drosophila melanogaster, which is commonly known as the fruit fly. And if you ever have had fruit flies in your kitchen, as many of us have, there's males and females. So a fun science fact is that females are the ones that have stripes on their rear ends, and the males have solidly colored rears. So if you ever catch a fruit fly and you look at their bottoms, you may be able to tell which sex they are.
That is a completely different view on fruit flies. It's brilliant. It almost gives them their own personality now, and you feel a bit bad for trying to get rid of them.
It does. I actually did a little bit of gender genetics research on them, so I can very easily identify which ones are males and females.
That's brilliant. Okay, let's get into this then. What's the story that's brought you to this stage in your career as digital media strategist, influencer, and LinkedIn video creator?
Oh gosh, so I've been working in digital marketing for over 10 years. I grew up in the Bay Area, so I grew up in the heart of Silicon Valley. So how could I not get into tech, really? And it was so fascinating to watch Silicon Valley grow and bloom the way it has. And balloon, as some people might say. And so that's my career in technology, and my interest in social media has always been there. However, I've, for the most part, been incredibly behind the scenes doing social media for brands. What was interesting is in August of 2017, I had just left a head of marketing position for a social analytics startup based in New York. Now, I'm based in Los Angeles, so I was working New York hours in the Los Angeles time zone. And I was quite exhausted, as you understand, as we are literally doing this call across two different time zones as well.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, it would be fun to create content, but I don't want to do something as involved as a YouTube channel because I know what it takes to make a successful, popular YouTube channel. I want to just create content that hopefully no one will see. I then got into the LinkedIn video beta, ironically, and decided, okay, well, maybe I should just try doing some videos. So I did one video became two consecutive videos became about 10 consecutive videos, and about 20 consecutive videos in, the LinkedIn video team said, your videos are weird. Can we talk to you? And that's never a good sign, right? It's never a good sign to get, hey, they're weird. Can we talk to you? And I'm like, oh no, I'm going to get these taken down. And they had just been these, what I call walk and talks, where I talk about pop culture branding. So pop culture phenomenons like Harry Potter, or trains across the world, or pop art posters, and how those came around. So I was discussing all of the branding and metrics behind that. And so I thought it wasn't too risque, but I guess it was very different than what they had planned the product originally for. So after video 20, they just kind of kept their eye on me, so to speak. And I thought 20 consecutive videos is so many, but let me just try for 50 and then I'll stop. At 50 consecutive daily videos, Jeff Weiner, who's the CEO of LinkedIn, includes me in a keynote about interesting video creators on the platform. And that really made me feel incredibly guilty to stop.
Yeah, sure.
So I just kept going at that point. And then video 80, it's Halloween. I'm actually feeling unwell. I'm in bed. And then all of a sudden I get all these texts from people who are saying, you need to go to LinkedIn. You need to look at LinkedIn right now. And I had already uploaded my daily video for the day. So I was like, well, I'm done with LinkedIn for the day. They're like, no, you have to see this. So I log on, and lo and behold, the head of video, Peter Roybal, has dressed up as me for Halloween. They've cut out a fake video frame. He has a green wig on, and he just writes, thank you to Goldie Chan and all the other LinkedIn video creators on the platform. So I was very much singled out on Halloween of all days, by the video team, essentially. And it was very sweet of them to do that. So I'm now an official costume at LinkedIn, which I find very funny.
That's brilliant.
And then at video 100, I actually met the team. So we actually did quite a few GIFs together, and some of those GIFs you can still find if you are even on other platforms. So you're on Twitter, you're on WhatsApp, etc. If you look up LinkedIn, you may find some of those GIFs still circulating around. I think there's over 2 million views on those GIFs currently, so they're doing quite well. So after video 100, I just kept going. I'm currently at video, I want to say a little over video 500, at video 365, which is 1 year. I had a big party in Dallas, Texas. And also LinkedIn asked me to host the official LinkedIn 1 year video anniversary. I also hosted the official LinkedIn Video Creator Summit this year at VidCon, and now I'm on the board, which I'm very thankful for. A lot of good people on the board as well. So LinkedIn Video really changed a lot of things for me personally, because I just started making videos, and every day I just made another video, and then the next day I made another video. And that constant, consistent content creation is really what put me on the map. And then, of course, this past year, I also won LinkedIn Top Voice, which is something that you can't be nominated for. So the editors at LinkedIn, which is a completely different team than the video team, has to find your content both relevant, of value, and the metrics have to be incredibly high. And I think I just passed 4 million views on my content. So
that's great.
So all those factors.
When you first started your videos, were you getting any engagement at all? Say videos 2, 3, 4. Was it straight away, or was it just a gradual build?
I think I had 10 people like my videos, which was very exciting.
Hmm.
Very exciting. 10 to 15 people liked it. I think the same 10 to 15 people comment on it because we were all in the video beta together. I think I got over 100 views on each of my first videos, which, now compared to the number of views I get is a fraction.
Hmm.
But at the time, it was incredibly exciting because I thought these videos, nobody would watch these videos. And I wasn't really creating videos for an audience. I was creating videos that I wanted to watch, that I wanted to do. And it just worked out. People watched it, people started liking it, and I started to grow a pretty massively engaged audience.
So that's just part of what you're about. You also have a company called Warm Robot.
Mhm.
Can you explain what Warm Robot's all about and what it does?
Sure. So I help a multitude of companies and people. So what I do is I help not only C-level executives at Fortune 500 companies define their personal brands, but I also help just brands in general really understand what their strategy should be on social media. And I always like to say, I build brands with love. So I do social media with purpose. So I create the communities and the organic content and strategy behind making a community love a brand, behind making a demographic love a brand or a person, right? A C-level executive.
Hmm.
So part of that is really figuring out, first of all, defining that demographic, defining that community, and then figuring out ways to really give them value. And so I don't specialize at all in ads. I do ads every once in a while, but there are people who are much better at them than I am. And I specialize in organic.
Okay, so you do a bit of both there on an individual point of view and an organizational point of view.
Mhm.
What's the difference in the digital strategies that you have to focus on from an individual and an organization?
Well, it's funny because I like to think that they're similar in some ways. So, obviously, with a person, that's a person. They have a life.
Hmm.
When you're building a personal brand around a person, you're spotlighting different aspects of their life. Are they a mother? Do they have grandkids, right? Do they own 3 houses in the Hamptons, as one of my clients did? Do they go horseback riding and skydiving a lot, or they write sheet music in their spare time? Maybe that's relevant to the audience that they're trying to attract, just to actually humanize them too. So with the personal brands, you have to really think, what are aspects of their lives, of their daily lives, that repeat, that you can use to build into a warm, real, authentic personal brand that still has, then the converse side, authority. And this is where it overlaps with regular brand building or corporate brand building. How do you build brand authority in a personal brand, and how do you build brand authority in a corporate brand? And I think about these very similarly. How do you become a thought leader in a space, and how do you have that brand become a thought leader in the same space?
That's really interesting. So, if we start from zero, if someone's got zero engagement online,
Mhm.
where are they starting? What should they start? What should they look for? What should they do?
So if they have zero engagement online, I always think start with this. So there's two ways to start. One is, if you already know the audience that you love to attract, the demographic that you like to attract, go to where they are, right? Go to the online forums, the websites, the platforms that they visit, the chats that they're already having, the conversations they're already having, and start to get into them. Start to be a contributor before you're a thought leader. And I think that's incredibly important, and a lot of people skip that step. Now, if you have no idea who it is that you'd like to target, you have no idea who the audience is that you'd like to be a part of, and you just have a very general idea, I always like to think of 3 brand keywords. And they are soft skills and hard skills. So, soft skills meaning, are you warm? Are you funny? Are you analytical? These are your soft skills. And then the hard skills are you an engineer? Are you a videographer? Are you a chef? Those are your hard skills. And I always tell clients I work with, you need to pick only 3. And this is where people struggle with because everyone wants to be a slash, 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 slash,
Yeah, sure.
slash. And I myself fall victim to that too. But it's incredibly important to give people fewer choices. So that way, when they meet you, it's clearer who you are and what it is you do, because people love putting other people in boxes. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just how we operate as human beings. So that, I think, is one easy way to start, is really think about three keywords: our soft skills and or hard skills, put them together, and then really think about, okay, so I'm a chef who's sarcastically funny, and loves to travel. I'm Anthony Bourdain, basically. But where do I go with my personal brand, and how do I engage the audience I want to engage? Now, then you can think about the next step. Where does that audience demographic lie? Well, they're probably also people who love cooking or consuming cooking shows. And so go to there once again. Then you go back to the other step I said, go back and start to engage meaningfully.
That's some fantastic little tips there. I think everybody can learn from them. For somebody that is new to all this online engagement or social or influencers or whatever you want to call it, what are the fundamental errors do you feel people or that you're coming across when they try to implement something online?
Sorry, repeat that?
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't say that very well. What you've done there, you've talked us through how you'd start if somebody had zero engagement, and what to do, what to look for in their target market, and go to them and look at you as a person and develop your own sort of personality. If somebody hasn't been given that advice, and they decide to go it alone, what errors do they do? What are people doing wrong when they haven't got someone like yourself to guide them?
Well, I think it's all about keeping it simple. So most people think this. So they also look at, for example, the amount of content that I create, but that's because I know how to create this amount of content now. However, when I started, I wasn't creating this amount of content. And I think that most people, when they jump into it, they try to do too much all at once. They're like, I'm going to do videos. I'm going to write vlogs, or blogs. I'm going to write on Quora. I'm going to have a blog on Medium. I'm going to have articles on LinkedIn. I'm going to have a YouTube channel. And now I'm on Twitter. And I think that that is a really easy way to get lost very quickly. And I always think the best way to start is start platform by platform. So I have a friend, and she's one of the top writers on Quora. And most people don't think about being a top ranking writer on Quora. But she started there, and that's where she got her expertise from. And now she writes for Inc. So she got her start being a professional writer by writing just a ton of content on one platform only. She barely has a presence on any other platform, but it's gotten her that personal brand recognition to get her to the next step, which is writing for Inc. and getting her on the career path that she wants. And I think that's true of most people, which is if you don't have help, start with one. And when you've mastered one, then branch out to more. And I think it's also, once again, it's very tempting to be like, well, I need to have a Facebook presence. I need to have a Twitter presence. I need to have an Instagram presence because those are the big ones. Oh, shoot, now I need to update my LinkedIn.
Yeah, sure.
But once again, I think it's good to start going in depth with only one platform at a time. Go in depth with Pinterest. Go in depth with LinkedIn. Go in depth with Instagram. Focus on one platform. Do well, or what you consider well there. Grow somewhat of an audience there, and then start growing your audience in other places.
Really interesting that you pick up on a few of those points there. That one thing that I've learned in speaking to a lot of people doing this podcast is that from the outside looking in, people think social media, that's easy. I'll just post a few things and become successful on that platform. And the first thing you learn when you start speaking to people is that it is just so freaking hard and takes a lot of time.
There's no success formula aside from having millions of dollars and throwing that at a platform and at content. So I speak only to organic content, an organically growing community, and all those beautiful organic things. And I think when you think that way, when you think, okay, I don't have a budget, then I just have to make content and I just have to engage in order to create a community, to create a brand, then you're forced to become more creative. You're forced to also think about better ways to spend and use your time. If you can also just throw money at everything, I've also seen this with clients too, you're not always throwing money at the smartest things either, because you think, well, I'll just throw money at all these ads and then I'm sure that I will get an audience that loves me. Not always the case.
I can imagine, sure. So the reason that I got in touch with you and asked you to be part of this podcast, and thank you so much for coming on, was the fact that noticed you on LinkedIn. It's quite hard not to notice you on LinkedIn, and mainly for video. What pro tips have you got for somebody that wants to get into video creation?
So first of all, I think for all of the introverts out there, all the people that are scared to do video and they want to put themselves on video, I always give this first pro tip, which is pretend that the camera is your friend, right? Pretend that when you're looking at the camera, it's not something scary. You're not talking to hundreds of people. You're just talking to someone that you're very close to. And I think that really helps when you're starting off with creating a piece of content that you're in. Now, aside from that, with cameras, with mobile phones these days, they are so advanced, and you can create the kind of content on them that you would not have been able to create 3, 5, obviously 10 years ago, right? But now with most mobile devices, you're able to shoot video that is appropriate, maybe not for a very nice glossy YouTube channel, but is appropriate for a lot of platforms. And you can create really interesting content without investing in video equipment at first. And I'm going to say that without investing in video equipment at first, because I see a lot of people, they go out, they immediately buy fancy cameras, immediately buy fancy lights, immediately buy all this stuff without going through the process of really understanding what is the storytelling behind creating a video, right? What is the editing process behind creating a video? What are those nuts and bolts that you actually need to learn before you advance to a nice camera?
And in a counterintuitive way, it can almost be negative because you've bought all this new shiny equipment that you think is going to make everything look amazing. And if you don't know how to use it, it will probably end up making it worse.
It'll just be overwhelming once again, because you've bought all this equipment. Now you feel guilty that you spent all this money on this equipment. And so you feel you have to use it. And, I've seen creators do this where they just jump in feet first. They buy the equipment, they learn how to use it pretty quickly. And by pretty quickly, I mean months. So they learn over the course of a couple months, several months, how to use the equipment. And then their product after several months is much higher quality than somebody who, say, continues with creating on their mobile device. But I'm such a fan of storytelling and editing properly, and learning all those nuts and bolts first before investing in equipment. Because once again, I think budgets can be pretty tight. And so it's always better to spend money when you need to spend money, which is after you've learned the craft, and then you can move on to cameras, because then everything else will be easier. You'll know how to essentially edit and tell a story. So you'll just need to learn how to shoot.
How much time do you spend then on, say, a single video? Is it quite a lot? I'm guessing there's definitely thought gone into it. How long does it take to do one single video for you?
It really depends on the video.
Mm-hmm.
So I just did an interview series, and for those videos, that takes significantly longer time because we're doing a full setup with lights, with mics. We're doing B-roll behind the scenes. So that takes not only several hours to film, but then it takes several hours to edit and re-edit and get approval for. So those are obviously longer videos. And there's videos I've shot over several days. For example, my 365 video, I shot that over several days, and took quite a while to edit it.
Yeah, that's 365. Wow.
Exactly. It was very long, and I probably talked too much in it. But my audience seemed to like it. But then there's videos that I do. So because I do daily videos, and I say this again, because I do daily videos on LinkedIn, I've started doing more short form vlogs where I ask and answer questions that I think are important. For example, right now, an interesting trend is the egg on
Yeah.
Instagram. It is the most liked Instagram post. And so today I did a little bit of a 1 minute analysis and question and answer around that. I actually brought an egg and filmed it in this video, and I did pretty minimal. I did a little bit of graphics on it, but pretty minimal graphics to be quite fair. And so that takes only a couple hours to do. But when most people think about their days and they think about video creation, they want videos that take 10 minutes to do, 20 minutes to do. And I feel like when you minimize a video down to that level, though, you're missing out on quite a bit of professionalism that you could have in your videos, even in simple short vlogs. So I think it is important to spend a little more time than just literally recording it and then dumping it on a platform, which I see quite a bit now, especially on LinkedIn, which is people are creating vlogs and then they're just kind of dumping them on the platform with very minimal editing. And I think that the quality, especially when it's done repeatedly over hundreds of videos, people start to notice the quality.
Mm-hmm. It's the egg thing's so interesting. It's
It's fascinating.
I watched that video you talking about yesterday, I think.
Mhm.
And the one thing that came across, I suppose, that a lot of people will just be liking it and sharing it and everything. But one thing that you picked up on was the fact that it's not offensive, it's not political, it's straightforward, it doesn't offend anyone, and that's partly why it's bizarrely been so successful.
Right. There's no race talk in it. There's no politics talk in it. It's not tied to a certain influencer who might be controversial, or sorry, celebrity or influencer that may be controversial. It's not tied to a country. It's not regionally based. There's a lot of nothing to it.
Yeah.
Which makes it very fun because most cultures consume eggs in various forms. So it's very cross cultural, it's very global that it's eggs. And for example, if it had been anything else like bread, not every culture consumes that much bread.
Mm-hmm.
And the bread is different across many cultures. But eggs they're global. So it's fascinating that particular thing went viral.
So the egg's had its day now. I'm waiting for the fruit fly to have its time in the sun. That's the next one.
That's the next one. I'm waiting to.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm sure you can do a whole host of videos on those. I've just created your content for the next 365 days.
I don't think my audience will thank you kindly if I did 100 videos on just fruit flies.
Yeah, that is quite niche, isn't it? So, why do you think your own personal video strategy on LinkedIn's been so successful? When I first started seeing what you were doing, it was almost Instagram-like. So straight away, it's different. Is that the only thing, or what other things have made that particular strategy successful for you?
So one of the things that I do is I like to mix marketing and branding questions like discussing the egg, but with my own eccentric, we'll call it, personality, right? So instead of talking about branding and marketing and all those things that we love in that dry, boring, fall asleep manner, I try to make it more interesting. Now, I believe you can make it more interesting without dancing around a room, or playing loud music or things like that, which to me feel a little gimmicky. I think that you can make it interesting just by being really, really interested in it. And so I think that's one of the things that people notice from my videos is I'm genuinely, authentically interested in the things that I talk about. Plus, I'm a huge nerd, so it doesn't hurt that I did a series of videos on B2B marketing from Disneyland, which no one else has ever done before, as far as I know.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the combination of my very eccentric personality, but the authentic side of it really resonates with my audience and with people who watch my content because they don't feel like I'm just lecturing because I have to.
Yeah. The Disneyland parts isn't lost. I don't think every time, or not every time, but mostly when I watch your videos and thinking, I want to go to Disneyland now.
I know. I should get a cut of our revenue now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you need to speak to the mouse about that, I think.
I'll speak to the mouse.
Goldie, are you ready for some quick fire questions?
Absolutely. Let's go.
Cool. Name one must-read business book.
Oh gosh, Never Eat Alone. First one off the top of my head.
Cool. What was the last thing you Googled?
Oh, the last thing I Googled was Thunder Cup, who is somebody I'm profiling in a Forbes article.
Thundercup. Wow.
It's her nickname. Her name is Monica Lynn.
All right, okay. Yeah, I was going to say that on the birth certificate's a bit strange. There we
Would
go.
be very interesting.
Yeah. What is your most used app at the moment?
Oh gosh, I mean, let's be honest. It's obviously LinkedIn.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, a bit embarrassed asking you that question actually now. What would be a one tip for people who are studying at the moment?
Be open-minded. So if you are struggling with a subject and you can't think about it the way other people are explaining it to you, try to find another way to learn it. That is maybe not what everyone else says is the way you need to learn it.
And final question, this could be a tricky one. What is your favorite video that you've posted?
Oh gosh, that's really tough. And this is supposed to be quickfire, isn't it? You know what? This is in my top 10 favorites just because I'm such a troll.
Mm-hmm.
But I did do a video at 10 Downing Street. And part of the video that I love is I got to meet Larry. Now, Larry is the chief mouser at 10 Downing Street. So he is the cat that's lived there. I think he's actually lived there for 10 years. So he's really old now. But he's been knighted. He's the official mouser for 10 Downing Street. And I got to meet him. And that was really the biggest celebrity I met in 2018.
That's great. That's a great answer. We're back to mice again as well.
I know.
You can't get away from them.
I can't get away from them.
Finally, if people want to find more out about you or get in touch with you, an obvious question, I think, where should they go?
Sure. So they should go to LinkedIn. You can go to my LinkedIn URL at linkedin.com/in/Goldie. They can also find me on Instagram at /GoldieCylon, CYLON, because I am a huge Battlestar Galactica nerd. And they can also find me on Twitter at Goldie Chan, GOLDIECHAN. And I also write for Forbes. So just Google my name and all of my beautiful articles I've recently written will pop up.
Yeah, and people must do that because your articles are great as well as your videos and everything. Content-wise that you're doing, Goldie, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you today. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
And there's the 50th interview done. Well, it's not quite the 50th interview because we had an intro episode and I did a couple of specials, but for this to be the 50th episode in the series, then I couldn't have been happier with how that went, although a little nervous, like I said. But what are these main takeaways? Let's dive right in. The first one that I took away from the conversation was when you're considering the differences between a personal and an organizational brand, Goldie explained that a personal brand looks at the person, their life, who they are, what they do, and what aspects of daily life can be repeated to be an authentic brand that creates authority, which is similar to how you do it for an organization, in that they must be authentic and create authority. And they must do this to mean something to anybody, particularly their target market. If you're starting from zero, zilch, nothing, then the best place to start is to find out where your target market is and contribute there. Start to be part of their conversations before even considering becoming a thought leader in that space. When building an online presence, take it one step at a time and one platform at a time. Start with one, master that one, go in depth, and then move on to other places. And finally, a special bonus pro tip here. When you're videoing for any kind of social platform, pretend that the camera is your friend. Oh. You will come across as more authentic and real, increasing your engagement with who's watching. Time to look at AR and VR, and what do these acronyms actually mean? So first of all, AR, augmented reality, is defined as an interactive experience of a real-world environment augmented by computer-generated information, whereas virtual reality is defined as an interactive computer-generated experience taking place within a simulated environment. Capiche? Little bit, didn't think so. The main difference is between these two, to try and help you understand the differences, is that VR is built within an environment that is completely computer generated, completely being the keyword. Whereas AR relies on both computer generated information as well as the real world, in a combination of them both. Now, both have their advantages and disadvantages, but it is the incorporation of AR into our everyday lives that is the most exciting. It will open the possibilities for digital enhancements to our daily activities to make them more convenient, productive, and overall reduce friction that can occur when technology is not utilised to our advantage. So keep a lookout for both of them, but I'm pretty sure AR will dominate in the near future. Thank you so much for joining us today on Marketing Study Lab. It really means the world that you're listening to this out there. And hopefully I've provided you some value. If you're looking to know more about what Marketing Study Lab does and is about, go to marketingstudylab.co.uk or get in touch with me personally, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, or feel free to email me at peter@marketingstudylab.co.uk. Happy marketing.